Hello and welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I'm Aaron Chapin, president of the Pennsylvania State Education Association, and I'll be your host this week. Today we're going to talk with a state legislator who's leading the charge to limit cell phone usage for our students in our Pennsylvania public schools. Also, we're going to welcome an educator who's going to talk about her Zoo in the Classroom program. All that and more coming up after this.
Welcome to the fast-paced and unrehearsed weekly discussion featuring the leaders who help shape your world. Join us as we address the issues that impact you each and every day. This is Pennsylvania Newsmakers. And now, here's your host.
So our first guest is a state senator from Allegheny County who's introduced legislation that would require school districts to set policies to limit students from using their mobile devices during the school day. So with us today is Senator Devlin Robinson. Welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. I'm glad you were able to squeeze this into your busy schedule. So you've introduced legislation that would essentially restrict mobile devices during the school day from bell to bell. Can you tell us more about this, please?
Absolutely. It's a bell-to-bell restriction, as you said. As a student enters school, that cell phone has to go away. And the school district is going to decide how to implement that mandate. So some school districts want to use those yonder pouches. Well, they'll lock them up in the pouches. Some will say that they have to stay in the lockers and the desk. It's going to be up to them to decide how they're going to implement it, though.
Obviously, there's something that really prompted you to do this. This is a pretty drastic move. Obviously, some school districts do it, but what were you hearing from your constituents that really prompted you to get this legislation out there and maybe get it passed?
Well, I've been hearing from a lot of teachers saying that the cell phones are an absolute distraction in the classroom. They have trouble teaching. And I've been hearing from a lot of parents that say, my kid is addicted to their phone. And at some point, we can implement a policy in the house for them not to use the phone at the dinner table or certain hours. But whenever they go to school, they can take it out again and it's on.
Obviously, you're aware, because I know that you speak with educators out in Allegheny County. Obviously, there's a mental health crisis that's going on with our young people all across America, especially here in Pennsylvania. It's no different. Smartphones, mobile devices, they seem to be one of the driving factors. Obviously, it's not the only thing. It's obviously not the only thing that's really playing a role in this mental health crisis. We've got a lot of kids with anxiety and depression. Do you think this is one of the major factors, though, that's really driving this trend in Pennsylvania?
I think so. We've seen a lot of studies that say that kids who are always waiting for the next message or always waiting for the next thing to come up on social media or whatever algorithm is being fed to them by big tech, it's increasing anxiety, and it's doing it at a very young age where it's getting them used to waiting for something, waiting for kind of that next hit, that next piece of excitement that's coming.
Yeah, like dopamine.
And they've shown that there's a dopamine rush to the brain. So I think that we don't actually understand the effects that it's having in our youngsters currently, but we're seeing it in this anxiety-prone generation.
Yeah, it's kind of the first generation really to have cell phones so early, and we really don't fully grasp it all. And I assume you've heard from your constituents' parents and guardians saying they're super concerned about this with their children at school.
Absolutely. They've seen that online bullying is going up. There's a big worry because students also understand that the internet is forever, and if something is said out there,
absolutely,
they can't take it back.
Well, I mean, I'm a teacher. I'm a language arts, social studies teacher in elementary school. I certainly understand the distraction that it was for me in the classroom. We've seen studies where the kids, today's kids, they can get 237, messages a day. I mean, that's a lot of messages. How does that interfere with the learning that's going on in our schools today?
We know that phones are a distraction because we've outlawed them for people driving.
Yeah.
So we're admitting right there that they're a distraction. Now, 237 messages in a 6 to 8 hour time frame is a lot of text messages, is a lot of communication. So you're supposed to be, looking at the instructor, looking at the board, looking at the book. How do you do that whenever you come down and you want to see your phone?
And we're not just talking about the phone, we're talking about watches as well, because watches are one of the culprits too. And it's also isolating for our students. You would think it's not because they're interacting, but it's a lot of texting. So, obviously, when we take these devices out of the classroom, real quick, like how does that kind of change the interactions between students, do you think?
Well, the teachers that are in school districts that have already implemented this policy say that there's now a looking up effect, where the students aren't walking down the hallways kind of looking down, that they're actually looking at them in the eye, interacting with the teachers, interacting with their fellow students.
Let's dive more into this when we come back. We're going to have to go to a break. When we come back, more from Senator Devlin Robinson.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is presented by the Pennsylvania Chamber of Business and Industry, the statewide voice of business, and by the Pennsylvania State Education Association, bringing the power of a great education to our schools, our students, and our communities. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Highway Information Association, the go-to source to learn about transportation projects and issues. Please visit pahighwayinfo.org. And by the Pennsylvania Manufacturers Association. Business in Pennsylvania is our business.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I'm Aaron Chapin, and I'm here with State Senator Devlin Robinson. Thanks again for being here. So there are some schools that they're doing what you're proposing. It's just not widespread. So when you talk with these school officials that have already instituted these kind of policies, what are they telling you about what's happening?
They're saying it's like a brand new day. Students are paying attention for longer periods of time. They're interacting with the teachers more, and they're interacting with their fellow students more.
So a completely different climate in these school districts?
Completely different. There's not so much instances of bullying in the classroom, on the playground.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. Obviously, and I've heard it myself, when I was a teacher in the classroom, I heard it all of the time. It's parents and guardians, they've got concerns. What if there's an emergency? I want my child to be able to have their device. That way they can check in with them. I know myself, I have, a daughter who was just, in high school a couple of years ago. I kind of get that feeling. What would you say to these parents and guardians that have these concerns?
Well, I completely sympathize with the parents. You never want to get that call or that text. But studies have shown from a lot of security experts that students are better served not looking for their phone in case of an emergency and following the teacher's instruction. The teacher's there to keep them calm, get them to safety, and the student is going to be better served if they're not looking for their phone or trying to text their parents and being distracted.
We actually, as educators, we hear being quiet is actually the best thing you should be doing in these emergencies anyway. And so the cell phones actually kind of go against that advice. Is that something that you're hearing?
Absolutely. If it's dinging, if it's vibrating, there's going to be a light that comes on whenever the text message comes in. And if there's an emergency, an intruder, that can alert that intruder that there's somebody over in another room or down the hallway. So.
And obviously that's why we have main offices as well. Like parents can call into school when they have situations with their children. So. Obviously, this has some, limited, exceptions to the rule. Obviously, it's not completely out of the picture that students may be using their cell phones. Can you expand upon that more, how it might be instances where cell phones are allowed?
Sure. In cases of, medicine that needs to be taken, IEPs in the classroom, students that, have English as a second language for translation purposes. And if a teacher wants to use the cell phone in instruction periods during class time, they can go to the school administrator and get an allowance for it.
So obviously, this doesn't dictate exactly how school districts need to implement it. In our final time that we've got here, can you explain why it's so important for the local community to really have input into this?
Well, this is the reason that you have independent school boards.
Yeah.
They know their community best. They know how to implement these policies. So we give it to them. We just say, hey, we're getting the cell phones out of the classroom, and you can decide how best to implement that for your own constituency.
Obviously, teachers, students, they're all part of this process. The community, it's a decision that they all can make together.
Yeah, there's a lot of stakeholders involved.
Good. So, out of curiosity, how often do you use your phone? I know that the other day in a hearing that you shared that with people. How often do you use your phone? What do you got for screen time?
This week it went up to about 2.5 hours. So I've been trying to keep it. I've been trying to keep it down, but it went up.
And that, obviously, students, we've talked about it, they can use it a lot more. I checked mine on the way in today, 8 hours. Ooh. I know, not something I'm proud of, but I use it a lot in my job. But I want to thank you so much for being here today, Senator. I really appreciate you explaining your piece of legislation. Best of luck with it. Thanks again for coming in.
Thank you.
And after our break, we're going to be talking with a high school teacher who created a zoo in the classroom program. You're not going to want to miss this. Stick around.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Cross-State Credit Union Association. Credit unions, where people are worth more than money. To find a credit union that is right for you, visit crossstate.org. And by the Energy Association of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania's energy information source. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Association of Pennsylvania State College and University Faculties, representing the faculty and coaches who are devoted to providing quality public higher education for Pennsylvania's college students.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I'm Aaron Chapin. This week was American Education Week, and it's a week to celebrate all the great things that are happening in our public schools across Pennsylvania. So we thought it'd be a great idea during this American Education Week to highlight an educator who's doing something really special and unique. And so we've got Chelsea Geist here today. She's an environmental science and zoology teacher in the Canon-McMillan High School out there in Washington County. She's got a zoo in the classroom program. It's the only one of its kind in America, and she's here to talk to us about it. Chelsea, welcome to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. We will get to your guests in just a moment, but first, what is Zoo in the Classroom? Tell us about it.
So thank you so much for having me.
You got it.
Zoo in the Classroom is an innovative and hands-on program where I train my high school students to teach elementary students.
Awesome.
And it's a really cool program where these students are able to research animals in my classroom and learn all about them and then share their passion and excitement with elementary students. So we have 3 different versions of it.
Well, obviously then, so it stems from your intense love of animals, right?
Sure.
When did this all, did this all start with you?
2010. So in 2010, I started. I was hired in 2008. I've had live animals in my classroom the entire time. We did research projects, things like that. But 2010 is really when I started going to other classrooms, integrating with our elementary students, and just really trying to collaborate with other teachers in the district, too.
Well, and obviously it teaches the elementary students about this, but it really benefits your high school students as well.
So much.
What does it do for them?
It really just shows how much passion they have. It turns them into leaders. Yeah. It turns them into teachers. They are now the educators. I put full responsibility and trust into my students that are handling these animals and teaching the younger students.
I love the passion. And obviously, look, I've said this before. This is what made me the teacher I am, because I had experiences in high school teaching younger students. And it's a great opportunity you're giving these students, even if in the long run they're not becoming educators.
Thank you.
So you've got a guest with you to share with us.
I do.
Who do we have here?
So this is Glacier. Glacier is a rat snake, and he's a special kind of rat snake because he's leucistic. Leucistic animals have lack of pigmentation, and so you can actually see that he's mostly white and off-white coloration, but you might notice that he still has black pupils and also the blue eyes on there, and so he's not albino. Albinism is where you lack pigmentation, you lack melanin, and so they don't have the black coloration in them at all. But this one still has a little bit in there, which gives him those black eyes. Now, rat snakes are really agile creatures. They are arboreal, so they climb trees. They are really strong, and really cool thing about snakes is that they have a tongue that flicks, and what happens is that he collects all of these particles and chemicals, and it actually will hit his Jacobson's organ, which is there, and that's what allows him to sense his environment.
This is why I taught social studies and language arts. And so you're obviously.
Would you like to hold him?
Sure.
I think that would be. I think that would be great. Yeah, let's just pass him.
Oh my gosh.
Just like that. Yep. Just act like a tree.
Oh my God. And how do the kids react?
Yep.
No fear, huh?
No fear.
And how do your students react to this in the classroom?
I think they get pretty excited over it. I mean, it's a showstopper, right? It's a bigger snake. So this is something that is definitely interesting in the animal kingdom, showing live animals with others. And
pass
so,
this
absolutely,
back to
sure.
you.
You did a great job. I'm proud of you. Yeah.
Well, that was so. Look, obviously, some of your students probably react a little bit like I do.
They do.
A little uncomfortable.
Absolutely, yes. And it's. I think over time they gain comfort.
Yeah.
And so it's all about experiences, and you took that experience and you ran with it.
Well,
So
thank you for being
great.
positive.
Yeah,
hey, we've got a couple more guests. So after the break, we're going to come back with Chelsea and some of her friends and talk about Zoo in the Classroom. We'll be right back.
This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by the Pennsylvania Medical Society. Inspired physicians committed to the good health of Pennsylvanians and the advancement of the practice of medicine. This broadcast of Pennsylvania Newsmakers is brought to you by Pennsylvania American Water. We keep life flowing across the Keystone State.
Welcome back to Pennsylvania Newsmakers. I'm here with teacher Chelsea Geis, and she's got a Zoo in the Classroom program for her students in the Canon-McMillan School District. We saw one of her friends. We're going to see a couple more coming up. Before we get to these great friends that are going to be here, probably making a little noise, obviously over the years, you probably had some students that have been just motivated by the passion, by the animals that you have, and maybe they had they pursued some careers.
They have.
Tell us about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had students that have become zookeepers, veterinarians, wildlife techs, wildlife conservation officers, vet techs, marine biologists. What was really, really cool, on my birthday this year, we actually live streamed with one of my students in California who is doing research on the hydrothermal vents in the ocean, which is extremely rare.
That's cool.
So it's so cool.
Must be really just so satisfying as an educator to see some of your students take the passion that you have. We have this as educators when they go into teaching as well. It's got to be the same for you.
It is, and it's a humbling opportunity, and just it just makes me so proud of them and everything that they've accomplished.
Well, it's a perfect example of why we do what we do. Perfect example for American Education Week. Obviously, this program, as we mentioned at the beginning, it's super unique. You're the only one of its kind. Have you had other educators reach out to you about this and say, we'd love to do this? I
have. In fact, across the state of Pennsylvania, I've had many people interact with me, as well as many states across the country. And I'm known for taking on a lot of things and running a lot of programs and doing a lot of things. And so I'm learning, and I'm growing as an educator and learning how to pump the brakes a little bit. And one thing that we're trying to do is perfect it in our district first, and then start to roll.
Because it's a lot of work.
We could roll out.
It's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
Well, I want to make sure we get to our other guests here if we have some time for some other questions. So who would you like to talk about first?
Let's talk about the bird here.
All right.
This is Pearl. And
Pearl.
Pearl is a cockatiel. Pearl is extremely vocal. Males are a very vocal species, and he says so many different phrases. So it's funny, having him in the classroom and teaching, and then all of a sudden he's what you doing? Well, I'm working, and just a really, really fun little guy. So he's very friendly. Pearl eats a variety of things. He loves fruits and vegetables, but he also loves to eat his treats, which you're seeing here. And this is an example of millet, which are tiny little seeds that he likes to eat and only gets them on a rare occasion. Now, this is the smallest species of a cockatoo. So you can see that little crest that he has on his head, and he has these really neat little feathers. Males fire up, so they're really bright colors, and you can see the coloration in his face there too. Birds are unique in the fact that they have hollow bones. So the hollow bones are going to allow for flight, and obviously they have those wings. And birds are unique in the animal kingdom because they're the only animals in the animal kingdom with feathers. And feathers are going to be used to aid in flight, but more importantly, they're used to keep warm. So it's a cold day outside. He's fluffing up right now, and he's keeping himself nice and warm.
How old?
He is only 11 months old.
11. And
we're actually planning a birthday party for him next month. Yes, my students are very excited about it.
And how long can they live for?
They can live anywhere from 15 to 25 years. It really it's a big span.
Wow. And how was the drive out?
The drive was great.
Because obviously you're from Western Pennsylvania. It's a long drive on the turnpike.
Yes. Yeah, and he did great. So I actually set up this stand on my passenger seat, and we just rocked out to some music, and he was jamming all the way here. Yeah.
Do you get some unusual looks as you're going down the turnpike with your cockatiel hanging out?
Probably. I'm sure the truckers that sit up higher were able to see him a little bit.
It's not something you see every day.
Not something you see every day.
Obviously, the kids must love.
Pearl is definitely a highlight in my classroom. I would say that he is definitely a fan favorite, not only with the students, but with adults that come into my classroom too. I have paraeducators and a co-teacher that absolutely love him too. But my students will take him and set them on their Chromebooks. Oh my gosh. And so as they're working, he sits there and he'll sing to them and he talks to them, and it's just such a cool experience, I think, because you were talking about mental health with the senator, and this, I think, helps with mental health and makes you happy. Animals make you happy.
Well, let's get to your other friend here.
Yeah,
who do you have here?
So this is Covey. This is actually a Russian tortoise. Covey, yes, and he is almost 35 years old. So he's an old guy, and as you can see, he has some really long claws.
Absolutely.
And these long claws are used for digging and making burrows. They live in semi-arid environments in Asia, and so this is a species that will live primarily underground. They're also herbivores, so they'll eat different types of fruits and vegetables. And they're a species that are a staple to have in the classroom. They're very easy to take care of, and they're also very gentle, so they're very easy to interact with too.
Wow. And your students, they love Covey too?
They do. They do. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
So with the little bit of time that we got left, what's the future of this zoo in the classroom? What do you think the future is of it?
So I think the sky's the limit with any program that you develop. And I think that I was given a platform and an opportunity to make this program successful and to make it work and to share my passion of animals with others, and for my students to share their passion of animals with others too. And I just feel like I'm in the right spot, and I feel like this is something that we're really doing. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I could talk to you longer, but that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.